Welcome to Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. My name is Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul. Last week, I found a quote I thought was important to ponder. The great Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, a German intellectual of the 17 and 1800s, was regarded as a significant influence in Germany. He said, "We are shaped and fashioned by what we love." I wrote that down in my new purple journal that my friend Pat gave me. It made me pause and ask myself, what are the things I love that have shaped me in some way? I decided to write a list of those things I love under Goethe's quote in my new purple journal. Here is the list of things that I love that in some ways have and continue to shape me. At the top of the list is the influence of family and friends. The rest of the things on my list are not in any priority, but they are reading, drawing, metaphors, good talks, learning, Norwegian language and heritage, entertaining, laughter, music, traveling, knitting, teaching, speaking, and counseling. What might be on your list? The influence of family and friends. Wow, that might take a whole book and is probably rooted in each of the other things on my list. When I first started putting this podcast together, I thought about sharing each one and why it was an influence on my life. As I wrote about them, I realized I was giving only a description of them and a general connection. I didn't feel satisfied until I started to see my list as a picture. Each thing on my list was somehow connected to the others, like the dot to dot drawings we used to do as kids. I guess we are a mosaic with different pieces as the things we love, but put together to make a beautiful picture of who we are. I'll start with reading and how it shaped or fashioned me and how it could be connected to some of the other things on my list. My grandma Mirwald and my dad read aloud to us as kids. It was important to them and they passed it on to us. I can still remember one day when my dad was in his late 80s, he asked if I wanted him to read to me. I replied, sure. He went to his office and came back with a book he had had since his days as an English major at Concordia College. It was by G. K. Chesterton. We sat together, and he read and I listened. Every now and then he would pause and after passage and smile, and we would talk about it. Hmm. I can still remember the timbre of my grandma's voice as she read our childhood books to us, too. She, like my dad, saved all their books. They loved them. Sweet memories, I think. Hmm. The importance of the written word was ingrained in me as a child. I would go to our library in the little Wisconsin town where I grew up each Saturday to choose a new biography to read. That's where I came to know Clara Barton, who started the Red Cross, President Andrew Jackson, the seventh President of the United States, Knute Rockne, the legendary Notre Dame football coach, both President Lincoln and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, and so many more historical figures. Reading has been fertilizer to topics that became the foundation of wonderful conversations with others. One of my favorite questions to ask instead of general small talk about the weather is, are you a reader? Then, what are you reading right now? When conversations center on reading, it always involves sharing some kind of learning. In the art of meaningful conversation, it's important to be focused listeners, listening with wonder about what the person is saying, not for how you will respond or share, but first what is actually being said. Metaphorically, listening to what someone is saying is letting them plant the seed. Then, when the seed has been completely planted, your response can be a connection, acting like the fertilizer on the seed, growing the plant or topic, helping it to flourish. Oh, learning. What a source of joy for me. When I am asked about my hobbies, I include learning. I guess that can be part of my love for reading, an arm for metaphors, connecting dots. There is so much to learn in life, and without curiosity to seek learning, I would become stagnant and probably boring, which is my biggest fear. I do not want to be boring. Another word on my list is entertaining. My mom loved to entertain. She was not only good at it, she felt it important to connect with people graciously because you never know what important relationships can come from those times around a table together. My friend Put Van Auken came from Norway. She taught me and our friends in Forest City where we lived how to entertain and make a party fun and memorable. The memories of laughter, friendships, and conversation that I have from those times in her home are treasures. That's why entertaining is part of the power in creating and growing relationships, which is related to my love of good talks. Talking meaningfully or talking deeply about things is food for my soul. See how everything we love can be connected, a mosaic of who we are? While listening today, were you thinking about what you may be putting on your list of things you love that have shaped and fashioned you through life? So this week, on your bathroom mirror, write, how have things I love shaped me in my life? Join me next Monday for Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. I'm Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul.